Chapter 9. Development. Let us not be too proud to face, honestly and frankly, the fact that by standards of the modern world, the African peoples today are poor. Our poverty need not cover us with shame. We must not be too proud to recognize the fact of Africa's economic situation as it exists today. We must not be cast down or discouraged by the magnitude of the problems which face us. For Africa is potentially rich. Our task is to improve the economic lot of all African peoples, to raise them to a standard of living comparable to that enjoyed by the most highly developed regions of the world today. This is a task and a challenge which must be met. Improving the economic lot of all Africans touches all of us. All must labor and work for success in this endeavor. The ultimate resource of a nation is its people. Unless this resource is employed for the benefit of the nation, unless the latent good which it represents is exploited to the maximum extent for the common good, the nation will languish, poor in spirit, lacking in achievement. If a man is sick in one part of his body, his whole constitution is upset. It is the same with a people. Unless each man's life be complete, displaying education and prosperity, the people as a whole cannot share in a common flourishing existence, nor can it give its governing cause for pride. The means of destroying poverty and ignorance are work and education. There is no one in the world who does not cherish the hope of having his standard of living raised. It is a law of nature and history that the development of any people must proceed simultaneously on all fronts. Man must be educated. He cannot come to grips with or cope with or understand the modern world unless he has been taught about it. He must be assured of a minimum economic security. He cannot concern himself with matters going beyond the day-to-day satisfaction of his physical needs unless he is fed, clothed, and sheltered. Nor can he acquire a sufficient degree of social consciousness to be able to subordinate his own personal interests to the good of the nation and the development of its society. It is not enough that a nation desire development and economic maturity any more than a child, in wishing, becomes a man. The child must crawl before it can run. Who would not be pleased to see his baby born as a 5 or 10-year-old youngster? But this is contrary to nature's plan. Progress must proceed in stages. Unless each beam be sound, the whole structure of a house cannot be firm. A country that has a plan is aware of its requirements. It is one of the tragedies of our day that while half of the world's population is racked by a never-satisfied hunger and remains poverty-stricken, disease-ridden, and ignorant, vast amounts are spent by great powers on armaments, money which, if diverted to satisfying the basic human needs of the poorer people of the world, could transform their lives and restore to them their human dignity, their happiness in the present, and their confidence and faith in the future. In order to speed our economic development, most of us require extensive financial assistance. We need not be ashamed of this fact, particularly when the poverty and ignorance from which our peoples suffer have been perpetuated through the deliberate and long-standing policies of others. Aid must be without strings. It is possible to influence positions and oblige adherence to this or that policy by economic pressure, but only at the expense of pride and dignity of those who thus renounce their birthright as free men. And the bill of sale carries the caveat, revocable at will. If the great nations of the world desire our sympathy and support, they should assist us to become economically strong, for only then will our alliance with them be meaningful. We cannot rely solely on international morality. The benefits of an expanding economy must be enjoyed by all. Our concern is with the many and not the few. If humanity is led to a better observance of covenants that are meant for orderly conduct of life, and if the progress of science is applied solely for human welfare, the increase of population will become not a burden, but a matter of gratification. Disarmament must be achieved, not only because in this fashion will the threat of a world holocaust be dispelled, but equally because only through a drastic reduction in the military budgets of the great powers can the vast resources required to raise all of mankind to the level of free men be freed for these purposes. We cannot postpone the needs, hopes, aspirations of our peoples indefinitely. A mark of a worthy civilization is the willingness of those to whom much has been given to share their portion with those in need. In aiding the young, we demonstrate our hope and faith in the future. We have the sacred duty to our children to spare them the sacrifices which we have known. To build a modern state requires the concentrated strength and effort of each one of you. If we do not build the roads and bridges and schools, if we do not plow the fields and till the soil, if we do not carry on the trade and commerce of the nation, to whom shall we look to for the accomplishment of these tasks? Just as it is important to defend one's country, it is equally important to prepare oneself for the welfare of the nation. Political and economic progress should go hand in hand. Poverty, fear, ignorance, and disease are not problems vanquished in the wake of scientific progress. They are the problems with which we struggle from day to day. Penetrate and discern the hidden resources and opportunities that a benevolent providence has spread before us, in challenge to prove ourselves worthy of the means for bringing them to full development. Landless people must have the opportunity to possess their own land. In an era when nations gather in concert to declare each nation's fundamental rights to freedom and equality, it is dismaying that the great majority of the world's population exists in the shadow of poverty and misery, often lacking the basic essentials of food and clothing, while their fellow men in other parts of the globe enjoy a life of abundance, comfort, and tranquility. No greater victory can be won by the nations of today than the conquest of apocalyptic enemies that still ride mankind: poverty, disease, and ignorance. The basic needs of men everywhere are the same: the union of the spiritual strength of the people with the material power of the independent nation provides the firm basis of our people to overcome the hardships and difficulties of life facing them in this world. Food for the body and food for the mind are both essential. Civilization can serve for both good as well as evil purposes. Experience shows that it has invariably brought great dividends to those who use it for good purposes, while it has brought incalculable harm and damnation to those who use it for evil purposes. Be it understood that while we are justly proud of our national heritage, we do not look backwards to find our national purpose, but forward to the full realization of our national goals. It is the duty of all mankind to make the maximum use of the gifts, ingenuities, capacities, and resources which has been placed at its disposal. Gifts, ingenuities, capacities, and resources are not ours to do with as we will. They have been given to us in trust that we may, following the example of the developed countries, apply them for the highest benefit to ourselves and to posterity, and each one of us has a sacred duty to fulfill this trust and to prove ourselves worthy of the confidence reposed in us. Those men who preceded you have set a high example. Take up where they left off, emulate them, build on the foundation which they have laid down, that your nation may advance in progress and enlightenment. Africa will no longer be the unknown continent, for its human and material resources are beyond measure, and this great continent now stands on the verge of an economic, political, and cultural development which, when realized, will be without parallel in history. It is only when man becomes master of his fate, able to determine his destiny, that he can be free from fears and inferiority. Such an individual or a nation stands respected by all. If we ponder deeply on our situation today, we shall find that the resources are available. The nation's youth are gaining knowledge and acquiring experience. It is only necessary that we resolve to work with determination and diligence. Of all the good things of the world which are accomplished by the wisdom of men, and which can be dealt with as well as what we want to do with our own life. If health fails, teaching, knowledge, life itself, all comes to naught. The forests, the mountains, and the plains constitute wealth.